ICE Barbie Kristi Noem is out of a job. After her disastrous testimony the last 48 hours, Donald Trump essentially fired her today, replacing her with a U.S. Senator from Oklahoma. It really was a brutal hearing. This was Noem speaking in her last news conference as Secretary of the Department of Homeland Security, becoming the first Trump cabinet member to resign.
Now, in his State of the Union address just last week, President Trump reminded us of what it is every American's duty to do, and that is to serve the American people. That's what the government is to do, those elected officials and those that step up into public service, is to fulfill our duty to protect American citizens, that they should come first under our Constitution and our laws, and they should be prioritized, and especially over other people who are from other countries. The Constitution demands that we treat our citizens that way, and the men and women who serve at the Department of Homeland Security, they understand the importance of that, and we also understand the importance of all of our law enforcement officers and what they do across the country to keep people safe.
Folks, as I said, the testimony yesterday, Ben, it was brutal in Congress. Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett tore into Noem. Check this out.
Madam Secretary, you are almost to the end, so congratulations. I just have a couple of questions. Are you aware that the law that was written by this Congress makes it clear that members of Congress are allowed to, entitled to enter any detention?
Representative Crockett, I apologize. I have to run to vote in another committee, Secretary, and Mr. Schmidt will chair, and you will get extra 15 seconds, but I apologize for that.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you so much
Mr.
for your
Chairman.
testimony.
Appreciate it.
Are you aware that the law makes it clear that members of Congress are allowed to enter any detention facility at any point in time in which they choose to?
Yes, I'm aware of the visitation and oversight responsibility, and we work every day to try to accommodate members of Congress while taking into account the safety of those individuals that are being detained there.
Let me be clear. At any time, correct?
Yes, I understand there's litigation in this area.
No, that's not my question. I'm not asking you about litigation. I'm asking you what the law is, because let me put it to you this way.
There's an appropriations rider that talks about oversight.
And appropriations are law, because you are asking us to appropriate dollars right now for DHS, correct?
Correct.
And if we do that, you would take that as law, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so that is what the law states, yet somehow myself and another colleague, Congressman Castro, we ended up giving a 7-day notice to the Dilley detention facility because I had actually already gone to El Paso before. And when I went to that facility and I asked them why it was that they were requiring me to do something that specifically my branch of government had dictated was not required, they said it was because of you. They said you were the one that said that they were not allowed to allow us entry unless we gave a 7 days heads up. Is that true?
Yeah. The law specifically states oversight and visitations, and we are working to facilitate those. And we're at that time working to.
Did you give the instruction that members must give a 7 days heads up or not?
We had a policy in place that allowed us to get.
Were you the one that ordered that policy?
I have a responsibility for ensuring everybody in that facility is going to be safe, and that I have adequate
no, but that's not my question, because
let
me tell you why we need to reclaiming my time. The reason that I'm talking to you about this policy and you're talking to me about safety is because I did go into the Dilley detention facility. And let me tell you, they're not safe. This is why we need to conduct oversight, because your people continue. In fact, you have lost more lives in detention than anybody else. That is your record right now. So I don't expect that y'all are going to be the ones that are going to be best to keep them safe. This is why we are supposed to conduct oversight and not wait for you to give permission. In fact, after I left the Dilley facility, we were informed of a measles outbreak that was taking place in that facility. And another question I have, are you the one that ordered it to be reopened, because that facility was closed under Joe Biden?
Those facilities were opened with the new administration. I'd have to look and see.
You're part of the new administration. Were you the one that ordered it to be open is my question.
I would have to see when it was opened, because I wasn't sworn in until 5 days after.
Okay, well, it was reopened in March.
I would have to look at when
it was reopened in March of last year.
Well, then I'm sure that contract would have been renewed while I was secretary.
Speaking of contracts, as I have actually, you know what, let me continue on this line of y'all breaking the law. Are you familiar with a child by the name of Liam Ramos?
I am.
All right, so Liam was at this Dilley facility, and it just so happened that we had put in our 7 days notice, and y'all had grabbed him 6 days prior to our visit. So we were able to go and visit Liam. Are you aware of the court order that came down that released Liam from custody?
I am.
And are you aware that the judge said the case has its genesis in an ill-conceived and incompetently implemented government pursuit of daily deportation quotas, apparently even if it requires traumatizing children? This court and others regularly send undocumented people to prison and orders them deported, but do so by proper legal procedures. Are you aware of that?
Yes, and I would disagree with the judge on several points.
I'm sure you would, but can you tell me whether or not you have a law degree?
Father chose to.
Can you tell me whether or not you have a law degree?
If I have what?
A law degree.
No, I do not have a law degree.
And you do understand, because I can go through a bunch of court cases and orders that I disagree with from the Supreme Court, that ultimately that is the order of the court. That is what you follow, and if you have an issue, you appeal it up, correct?
That is correct.
Okay. The court went on to say, apparent also is the government's ignorance of an American historical document called the Declaration of Independence. 33-year-old Thomas Jefferson enumerated grievances against a would-be authoritarian king over his nascent nation. Among others were, he has sent hither swarms of officers to harass our people. He has excited domestic insurrection among us, for quartering large bodies of armed troops among us. He has kept us among, in times of peace, standing armies without the consent of our legislatures. Are you aware that he wrote that? Do you know that he was writing about ICE that falls under you?
The judge?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. With that, I will yield, but I do have 2 UCs. The first UC is ICE training was slashed, records show, corroborating whistleblower claims from the Washington Post on yesterday.
Without objection.
The second one is FEMA's response to Texas flood slowed by Noem's cost controls. This is out of CNN from July 10th of 2025.
Without objection.
Thank you so much.
So I think the next line of question is why she got fired. So she was jammed, Colorado Representative Joe Nagase and others jammed her up about this $200 million advertising contract that went to a company that was only incorporated 8 days before it was awarded. Now, when she testified before the Senate, she said Trump was fully aware of the contract. One of those senators called Trump. He said, no, he wasn't. Now, we know he will lie about a lie, but I think after that questioning on Tuesday in the Senate and then yesterday in the House is why Kristi Noem had to go. This is Nagase. Watch this.
Good afternoon, Madam Secretary. Thank you for being here. I want to discuss in greater detail the expansion of advertising in your department under your tenure, and I believe you testified regarding some of these matters yesterday in front of the United States Senate. In particular, I want to discuss the department's $220 million ad campaign. This is the ad campaign that featured you at Mount Rushmore. You're familiar with this ad campaign, correct?
I am familiar with it. It was an ad campaign that was.
I'm going to ask you some questions about it, Madam Secretary. So, as I understand it, this is a $220 million ad campaign. It's split between 2 contractors. One of those contractors got $143 million. That contractor is called Safe America Media, correct?
Correct.
Okay. That company is affiliated with a former political director of the National Republican Congressional Committee. Now, yesterday you testified, I think I'm quoting you right, you said, quote, or in reference to this contract, that, quote, it went out to a competitive bid. Do you stand by that statement?
It was a no-bid contract where 2 vendors were. It
was a no-bid contract.
If it would have been a no-bid contract, if I'm using that correctly, it goes out to 2 different vendors.
Correct. So it was not a competitive. Let me try to explain what the discrepancy, because a competitive bid is very different than a no competitive bid, and I'll just explain why. We know that your testimony yesterday, when you said, again, I'll quote, it went out to a competitive bid, is untrue. The reason we know it's untrue is because under federal law, your agency is required whenever the agency decides to skip competitive bidding, to file a notice with the public explaining why. And in this case, your agency filed a notice. You're aware of that, right? Justification and approval for other than full and open competition. Your agency made a decision not to proceed with competitive bidding, and one of the contractors that got the award was this Safe America Media Company that received $143 million.
Many vendors got the chance to look at that contract and to participate in it.
So
that is why the two of them were chosen.
That's inaccurate, Madam Secretary. I'll read from the notice from your agency. Given the immediate action to significantly reduce illegal immigration and border crossings, DHS identified 4 companies. 4 of the hundreds of thousands of companies in the United States, you identified 4. One of those is this Safe America Media Company. Where is Safe America Media headquartered?
I don't know.
I don't know either, Madam Secretary. We can't find it. We can't find a website. We did find an address that's registered for this company. Do you know where that address is?
Is there a problem with this contract?
I'll tell you about it.
According to
Madam
law,
Secretary, the
address
is registered to a political operative. Madam Secretary, the company, and then I'll give you an opportunity to respond. The company is registered to a political operative in Virginia. Do you know, just by way of example, whether this company that received $143 million in taxpayer dollars, has it ever done work for the government before?
I don't know. I can't.
The answer is it has not. And do you know why we know that? Because it was incorporated 8 days before this contract went out. You want the American people to believe that this is all above board?
Yes,
that $143 million of taxpayer money just happened to go to this one company that doesn't have a headquarters, doesn't have a website, has never done work for the federal government before, and is registered apparently or attached to a residence from a political operative. And of course, one of the subcontractors of that contract, as you know, is a political firm that's tied to you back when you were governor of South Dakota. The reason why I ask these questions is that this is taxpayer money. And I presume, I don't know this for a fact, but Senator Tillis noted yesterday the way in which your agency is blocking the Inspector General from 11 different investigations that it is trying to conduct. I don't know if this happens to be one of them. I certainly hope it is, because eventually the facts will become public in this regard. And there are serious laws implicated, conflict of interest laws, federal procurement laws that I believe
followed, all done correctly, all done correctly. 14 billion impressions from that marketing campaign.
Sure.
It was money spent in this country and in 8 different countries that illegal migration was coming from.
Madam Secretary,
overwhelmingly effective.
We all understand the argument that you've made. The argument that you've made that somehow this ad campaign on Fox News of you at Mount Rushmore has led to millions of people self-deporting. You're using millions of dollars of taxpayer money in this way. It is fraud, and ultimately, I think there's going to be accountability. And I yield back, Bill.
Can I speak to the IG?
Yes, you can.
The IG has been told repeatedly, in writing, verbally, on the phone, that he can have access to anything at the Department of Homeland Security. He can. He doesn't need my permission to come and brief members of Congress on the Hill. He just needs to provide a scoping memo, which is what every single IG gets from every single department and agency. All intelligence agencies require a scoping memo. He just hasn't done that. He wants unfettered access to every single thing in the department, and that's not the process, and that's not any other IG has demanded that.
Man, y'all know she was lying. Now, this is when it got real ugly. Congresswoman Sidney Kamlager-Dove went there. Watch.
Have a close relationship that has made President Trump, quote, uncomfortable. The president reportedly denounced Corey Lewandowski as your chief of staff due to reports of a romantic relationship between the two of you. So instead, you designated him as a special government employee, a position he has had well beyond the allowed 130 days and requires him to disclose if he is making money off of his position. Trump knows that this guy is shady. Corey has a decades-long record of physical battery, sexual harassment, illegal lobbying for a Venezuelan oil company, and bringing a loaded gun into a federal building. Despite being fired or removed from virtually every position he has ever held due to misconduct, he now wields unchecked, unconfirmed, undisclosed power over your department. This person has no experience running anything close to Department of Homeland Security or even advising someone in your position. He is unqualified, which again has left my constituents and I wondering why he is your top official. So Secretary Noem, at any time during your tenure as Director of Department of Homeland Security, have you had sexual relations with Corey Lewandowski?
Mr. Chairman, I am shocked that we're going down and peddling tabloid garbage in this committee today.
Reclaiming
and
my
ma'am,
time.
one thing that I would tell you is that he is a special government employee who works for the White House. There are thousands of them in the federal government.
So reclaiming
and
my
is an
time,
advisor
Secretary, it is
and has
okay for
no,
you to be
no
offended
authority
by the
to be
question.
making any
it
decisions.
It is okay for you to
has
be
no
offended
authority
by the
to
question.
Be making
but it
decisions
is also
and
a
putting
real
up your
question.
position. So what I would say
and
to
you should be able to
is
answer
that
the
what
question
we do at the Department of Homeland Security every single
and without
day,
any hesitation,
every single day is to protect
if
this
someone
country
is
and
asking
to make
if
decisions.
you or any federal official is sleeping with their subordinate, that should be the easiest. You should be wanting to answer that question.
Is garbage?
Because it is not about
it is
your sex
offensive
life.
that you have brought
It is
that
about
up.
your
So
judgment.
that kind of garbage
It is about
has been refuted
reclaiming
for
my
years,
time so
and
that
you
I
need
can
to
hear myself.
recognize-
Time belongs to the gentlelady from California, but it'd be nice if you would let her respond.
I will. I want to let you know it is about your judgment and decision making. It is about the 260,000 employees that work under you that want to make sure that you are giving information and making decisions clearly. It is about conflict of interest. It is about a national security risk. Department of Homeland Security was created right after 9/11 to protect the homeland. And DHS has circulated an internal bulletin to law enforcement partners warning that the conflict of the war we're in could inspire lone actors or small-scale cyber activity inside the United States, according to a memo obtained by ABC News. So American lives are at risk. The people who work for you are at risk. And they want to know that the person at the top, you, are making decisions clearly, without any sort of cloudiness, and that they're your decisions because you're the secretary who was confirmed. That's what this is about. Saving the lives of Americans and not costing them millions of dollars and not having a secretary who's compromised in her decision making. And Mr. Chair, before I yield my time, I would like to enter into the record some articles, and I'm asking for unanimous consent. Noem tightens her grip on DHS. Lewandowski fired FEMA admin.
Without objection.
Okay. The next one is Kristi Noem secretly took a cut of political donations from ProPublica.
Without objection.
Kristi Noem fires pilot over a blanket, but is forced to reinstate him to fly home. Wall Street Journal.
Without objection.
Lewandowski taking out trash at Noem's D.C. home. Daily Beast.
Without objection.
Barbie's Mile High privacy chamber with alleged lover exposed. Wall Street Journal, how Corey Lewandowski became Kristi Noem's gatekeeper at DHS.
Without objection.
A pilot fired over Kristi Noem's missing blanket and the constant chaos inside DHS. Wall Street Journal. Police charged Trump campaign manager with assault. PBS News.
Without objection.
Woman who accused Corey Lewandowski of assault speaks out. I don't want this to happen to anyone else. CBS News. Lewandowski's firm quietly inked deal with Venezuela-owned company Politico.
Without objection.
List of U.S. cities raising security amid Iran conflict. Newsweek.
Without objection.
Kristi Noem, I have a few more, I'm sorry. Kristi Noem misled Congress yesterday about top aide's role in DHS contracts.
Without objection.
Policy number 10271 from ICE, it is an anti-fraternization policy prohibiting romantic or sexual relationships between supervisors and their subordinates. And with that, I yield.
Without objection.
All right, y'all, I got to play one more. So Congresswoman Dove's seatmate is Congressman Jared Moskowitz. He didn't let up.
Now, I want to give you an opportunity to answer on the record to Ms. Kamlager-Dove's question. I know you said it's garbage, and it may be, but I really think you need to say the word no into the record so that you can clear that up.
I think the ridiculousness of this and the tabloids that you are quoting and referencing are insane. And this has been
So that's a no?
something that I've refuted
Is
for
that a no?
years, and I continue to do that.
So it's a
what
no.
I would tell you is
We
when
can move on.
regards
Hold
to
on.
what you're
Madam Senator,
doing,
we can move on. I'm not going to belabor it. If it's
this is what you do.
Hold on.
Socialist,
I'm not doing anything.
Liberal left
Okay.
is you go off and you attack
I was-
conservative women and you say that we're either stupid
I haven't
or
said
we're
anything.
sluts.
All right, so listen.
And that's what you do.
Yesterday,
and I will tell
Richard,
you, sir,
yes, reclaiming
I will
my
tell
time,
you,
Mr.
sir,
Chairman.
I
Mr.
am
Chairman,
neither of
reclaiming my
those.
time.
And Nola, today she got fired.
She sure did. But wait a minute. When you played that first clip, only her lips were moving. Like, I don't. Okay, anyway. But yes, she got fired while she was on stage. And so Donald Trump does what he always does. He loves a good humiliation, baby. And so everything that I'm seeing from people who are celebrating up and down the timeline, they're saying that the dog let her know that he did it, the dog that she murdered. But anyway, but seriously, this is very serious. And I'm so happy that Jasmine Crockett really leaned into this corruption angle. Last night, I was at a foreign policy dinner and Senator Chris Murphy was our guest. And one of the things that we've been talking a lot about in these kind of informal settings is the idea of corruption. And my really good friend, who's the CEO over at the Center for International Policy, wrote this really good paper about corruption. And it's been circulating because this is definitely something that the American people have been shouting loudly about accountability. What does that look like? And how do you go after it? And it's about leaning into the blanket, naked corruption that this regime, that we hear about every single day. And it just seems that nothing will be done, that nothing can be done. And it's exhausting all of us, because it literally looks like these people can get away whatever they want to do. I mean, case in point, she may be losing this job, but from what I understand, she's going to be a special envoy, which means she's still going to be getting a paycheck. You know what I mean? So where does this end? So I'm happy that corruption is really front and center, because accountability needs to come yesterday. These people just run roughshod over the American public. And to the Congresswoman from California's point, this really is a national security risk, because so much is going on internally. We have our eyes off the ball in many different directions. And when the main story about the one who's leading DHS is about face fillers and her wigs, we're not moving in the right direction, folks. This is not about keeping us safe at all. So we're moving in the wrong direction. And I'm happy that Jasmine Crockett leaned all the way into the corruption angle.
Brian, it was laughable to sit there as she tried to lie herself. This $200 million contract, absolute corruption. I mean, these people are butt naked when it comes to their corruption.
Roland, I have a lot to say about this. Let me first start by saying she didn't answer that question about Corey Lewandowski, because the answer is obviously yes. So the puppy dog cosplay killer, Kristi Noem, did not get fired by Donald Trump because of people getting murdered in the streets, because of her ICE thugs wearing masks, murdering people. She didn't get fired because of her incompetence. Make no mistake about it. The only reason why she got fired is because she made Donald Trump look bad, asked about the $220 million ad campaign. That's the only reason why Donald Trump fired her. She is incompetent. She's a liar. This is a disgraceful woman, and she is an absolute disgrace and probably has an IQ of about 40. She is the woman who called Alex Preddy a domestic terrorist hours after Preddy was murdered, hours after Renee Good was murdered. She called her a domestic terrorist, wouldn't apologize, even though we know that that was a lie then, and it's a lie now. She didn't apologize to the families because she has zero moral compass. She is also corrupt. That $144 million deal, we know why she did that. Complete corruption. Are we supposed to be led to believe No, this company was made 8 days before that deal and everything is completely legit. No, the chickens are going to come home to roost. Now, yes, the problem we have here is, unlike Marjorie Taylor Greene, when she learned that Donald Trump wasn't going to endorse her and then she started trashing him because she had nothing to lose. Kristi Noem is not going to start trashing Donald Trump and turning on him because, as just mentioned on your panel, she still has a job in the Trump administration, which is mind-blowing. It's also mind-blowing that Corey Lewandowski, who is a woman abuser, in my opinion, just like Pete Hegseth, has a paid job. He's getting paid to work for the government. It's mind-blowing to me, not to mention this private jet that cost the American taxpayers hundreds of millions of dollars with that nice little bedroom in there. I'm sure that Kristi Noem and Lewandowski had some fun in there as well. The bottom line is this is a despicable human being. She is a thug. She is a racist. She's taken people's First Amendment rights away, Third Amendment, Fourth Amendment rights away, completely incompetent, should have never been in this position in the first place. But again, I go back to what I said earlier. This is really important. Donald Trump did not fire her because of the job she didn't do or because of what was going on with ICE or her lack of leadership or incompetence. The only reason why Donald Trump fired her is because she made him look bad with an answer, and maybe the only time she was telling the truth under oath, that Donald Trump approved the $220 million that they had to spend with this advertising campaign, which did absolutely nothing, by the way, because we see her on a horse somewhere or in a cowboy hat. We should all of a sudden say, let's forget about all those ICE thugs out there that are murdering people on the streets, that are attacking brown people. Let's forget about that because Kristi Noem in some commercial that cost the taxpayers millions of dollars somehow, oh, it's okay now because I saw Kristi Noem in a commercial looking like the clown that she is. Roland, I'm so angry at this situation and so many others, but she is so unqualified. She is such a moron, and she's such an embarrassment to this country, and she's a liar. And in my opinion, she belongs in jail.
Greg, the corruption has no end. And, I mean, can you imagine, Greg, imagine this here. Imagine Joe Biden in the White House or Obama, and they decide to give me a $143 million contract for a company that's registered at a residential home started 8 days before. Not a single Republican. They would be losing their minds on Fox News, conservative talk radio, but these people don't care. They embrace, support the rabid corruption of these thugs. I said they were going to rape and pillage the country, and this ad campaign, it was not only to enrich her friends, it also was to put money in the pockets of conservative media, because those commercials didn't run anywhere else but conservative media.
Absolutely. Absolutely, Roland. They are purebred thieves. Forget $143 million. They'd come after you for $1,438. It wouldn't matter. These people, as you said, they're racists, they're sexist, they're misogynists. Donald Trump did not win the presidency in 2016, despite saying you can grab women by the private parts. He won because he said it. Let's just drop all the pretenses and get down to business. First of all, when Kristi Noem said, you think women are stupid, you think they're sluts, she's absolutely right. Except the people who think that are the ones that are employing her. First of all, $200 million, that ain't no money. Let's just get to the real stealing. The crypto king, Steve Witkoff, with his friend Jared Kushner, Trump's son-in-law, with the dead man suit, shaking down everybody for billions, the Saudi sovereign funds, and all of that money that they're stealing, which is why they're over in Iraq, going to shake them down after they shook down Venezuela. Let's talk about Doug Burnham, who's in Venezuela, talking in Caracas with Rodriguez now as they build a portfolio after this white woman speaking Spanish who gave up her damn Nobel Prize to Trump is saying she's coming back to Venezuela. They're going to try to take Rodriguez out, but it's all about the oil. It's all about the minerals. $200 million, first of all, ain't no money. The stuff that's going on with AI at the Department of Defense, the shakedown of the Ellison family who are shaking down mass media now so Paramount can swallow Warner and add CNN to the portfolio. Kristi Noem ain't stole no money. She a little white woman in a little world where they hate women. But let's get to the central point that we're talking about right now. Not only did she not lose her position in the federal government, she got promoted. The special envoy to the Shield of Americas is 13 heads of state in Latin America, from Latin America, who are meeting me in Miami over the weekend. And she's the one that's supposed to be the U.S. representative of the Don Road Doctrine. Do you know what that means? If you hated what she did in Minneapolis, if you hated what she's done on the streets of the United States, they just put her over doing it for the whole damn hemisphere. Let's be crystal clear. They playing in our faces finally. Mark Wayne Mullen. I think, do you know why Mark Wayne Mullen is going to be nominated? You know why he's going to take over March 31st? Because Trump likes them big, burly, wrestling ass white boys. This is a former MMA fighter. He'll probably be with his shirt off on July 4th wrestling on the White House lawn. This the man that tried to snatch that sign out of Al Green's hand. This the man a couple of years ago that tried to fight the president of the Teamsters. This is a brain-dead meathead who will have no problem getting up in everybody's face, balling up his fist, and boy, Donald Trump, as his body dissolves in front of us, as his homoerotic incel spirit clings to this notion of dying white masculinity. This the kind of man he loves. Kristi Noem got promoted today, and Mark Wayne Mullen is going to continue with business as usual. Although if I'm Kristi Noem's husband, boy, that thing he swallowed as he sat there and they gave it to her right there in his face. My God, Byron Noem, I'd say I'm sorry for you, but I'm not. It was pure comedy.
Ice Barbie. No longer Department of Homeland Security Secretary. Y'all go